Avengers! Assemble.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Excelsior, the world's #1 Marvel's Avengers podcast. I'm your director, Christian Buckley. As always, joining me is the Apex legend, Jack Martin.
Excelsior. Nice to be here with you, Christian. Gonna be a slow one today, I imagine.
It is a shame that it's going to be a slow one, but kind of a benefit. We got 2 episodes in 1 week. We have at least an interesting topic today, I think. So, how you doing? It's a nice May 12th, very sunny and warm out today while we're recording. How you doing?
Yeah, hit the 70s today where we are.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm realizing we're in quite the dead zone for video games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nothing really coming up until, I think, the new Mario game, the new, Mario soccer game's coming out. I think it's a soccer game. I don't know. But yeah, aside from that, not a lot going on.
Yeah, you want to hear, because earlier today, unfortunately, we'll get to superhero stuff in a moment, Starfield, Lord and Savior, got delayed to next year.
Sad. Very sad.
Yes, very unfortunate. So I did look through the 2022 release lineup. The only things that are announced that I know for sure I am buying the day they come out: Mario Strikers Battle League, the soccer game you mentioned, and Pokemon Scarlet, the second Pokemon game of 2022.
Oh, true. That's in, November?
I think so, yeah. They typically release the generation games in November, so.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah. Other than that, it's dry. It's a backlog year.
Very front heavy this year, which is usually not the case.
Yeah. Perfect time to hop back into games that you've been putting on the shelf, things you put down, the backlog season. Or, if any new content comes to Marvel's Avengers, maybe it'd be a swell time to hop back into the game,
That would be nice. I don't know if that's happening.
Well, this week it sure isn't.
No.
Let's go through Fury's report very, very quickly. The Cosmic Threat event is back. If you're a fan of Superman 64, flying through rings, getting high scores, helping you out with your gear, you can do that. That is returning from May 12th, today as of recording, through the 26th, alongside Double Resources, which is running through the 17th. Marketplace, got some interesting things in there. Jack, what are we looking at this week?
Yes, so we have that Hulk outfit. I think this is from last week. This is the Monster Heart outfit, and he's real green in this one. Hulk's real green as it is. He's like neon green now. So that's new, or maybe it's from last week. Who knows? And then the big one this week, we have Thor's Infinity War outfit. This is him with the eye patch, sans cape, and he's kind of got this black uniform aesthetic going on. Very cool. I miss the cape though, I must say, but this is nice to have.
For sure. The cape is always nice because of the flow effect, right? Mm-hmm. But I will say it is very cool to see. I think this is our first. That's not true. I was going to say non-cape Thor, but we have Brooklyn Thor with the t-shirt and Tim's.
Right.
So it's still cool though.
One of the first Edna Mode created costumes.
Mm-hmm. Good pull. I like this. I've reached a point where even if they release something I really like, I don't know if I would spend money on the game right now, but if down the line I find myself spending time in this game significantly again, I would probably pick up Infinity War Thor in a sale or next time it returns to the shop, because I do like the look a lot, and it's nice having the eye patch. So
True. Yeah, eye patch is huge. I'm trying to think. He only got that for, let's say, in total, one movie, because half of Ragnarok, not even half of Ragnarok, and half of Infinity War. Mm-hmm. But it's so iconic.
Yeah, did I ever tell you how I was spoiled on that?
Really?
Well, I was spoiled on him getting the other eye back.
Oh, okay. How did that happen?
So when I saw Infinity War, at our local Cinemark where we went to school.
Yep.
I got I went all out. I got commemorative cup, commemorative popcorn tin.
Yep.
And on the popcorn tin, Thor was there, but he didn't have the eye patch. And I was like, that's a weird oversight for like official materials to go with this film. That's strange that got by like QA or whatever. And then, 30 minutes into the movie, whenever the Guardians show up, it's like, oh, another eye. Okay.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. But it is what it is. As is this game. That's really it for Marvel's Avengers this week.
Yeah. Didn't get that. Didn't get any mention. I don't think we really expected it, but no mention of the purchase from Embracer Group. I don't think we were really expecting that, but it's kind of on track for what we've got. It's May, Christian. It's May.
I know. I forget the last time we talked about when's the panic button. I think whatever date we said on the second time we delayed it, I think we probably passed it.
Yeah. Imagine this. If we were in school, a whole semester would have passed. A whole semester.
Oh boy, man. Time is not slowing down.
No.
And neither is the multiverse. Because the multiverse is invading this podcast right now, Jack.
Wow. I can feel the implications of Loki, the television program, on this podcast right now.
It's all Sylvie's fault. He Who Remains is gone. I wore a Superman shirt today, so the multiverse is being cracked open on Excelsior. I would like to talk about Gotham Knights.
Let's do it.
For those that don't know, I imagine you know. If you're listening to a damn Avengers podcast, you probably know what Gotham Knights is. But Gotham Knights is a DC superhero team-up video game being developed by WB Montreal, whose last game was Arkham Origins, the Batman Arkham spinoff in 2013, which I never played. Recently seems like it's been getting a lot more love the past few years than it did when it came out. Did you play it, Jack?
Arkham Origins?
Yeah.
I did. Played it when it came out. I think at the time I didn't love it. I liked it, but it's a game I want to revisit. It's a great Christmas game, great winter vibes. And I remember being like obsessed with the lead up to it. I had the Game Informer with the cover on it. This was like the Silver Age Batman sort of situation that was like rumored for a while. And it was really cool. I think the lead up to it was very interesting. And the story does some interesting things with the Joker and all. So I think it is sad that it is forgotten by WB and Rocksteady. Obviously, Rocksteady didn't make it, but like you can't play this game on modern consoles, so kind of sad.
Yeah, you can't even get an Xbox back compat for some reason. So luckily, I still have a PS3 from our friend Omar Nakvi from when we played through Metal Gear. So I would like to probably play this year, but
yeah, I do think it is available on maybe not digitally, but if you have the disc. I know you have the Series S, so
yeah, that might be the case. But,
yeah.
Gotham Knights was announced a while ago at the DC Fandome and was slated to be released last year. Got delayed into this year. Very recently got a gameplay showcase. The initial one at the reveal was Barbara Gordon Batgirl and Tim Drake Robin. So the other two playable characters, Jason Todd Red Hood and Dick Grayson Nightwing, got some time to shine on the re-reveal with the announcement of it being a next-gen only game. So we can talk general thoughts about it first, Jack, but I think what should be made clear is that I've seen several maybe baseless comparisons to Marvel's Avengers, and you've seen them as well. So what's your initial take on the comparison? You've seen a lot.
Yeah, I was surprised when I opened up the YouTube link to rewatch this. The like to dislike ratio was like half. So like half the people liked it, half the people disliked it, which was very surprising. But yeah, I think a lot of people are comparing it to games like Marvel's Avengers because of some of the stats that you see in this gameplay section. So like there are different armor sets with different like levels of rarity, and it's like kind of Destiny like a lot of numbers. You got to pay attention to perk slots that you put stuff in. And I think people can be sick of that these days because there is a lot of that, which I empathize with. It's not something that really detracted from my experience with watching the trailer. I think the gameplay looks fun enough. I think a lot of people were maybe concerned with like the bullet sponginess of enemies, which is fair. It's definitely a departure from the Arkham games where you just punch a guy enough and then he falls down. So I think that's fair. This is definitely different than the Arkham games. The only similarities is that it's an action game based in the Batman universe, but still think it looks cool. It definitely now looks a little different than what we're used to with the Arkham games, but I think we kind of knew that going into it with the co-op and also. I don't think this really, hampered my expectations for this game. Maybe just put a little new information in there with like the numbers and all. But yeah, still pretty excited for it. What about you?
Yeah, I personally, just based off the property they're tackling, I was more interested in this than I am Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, even though that has the backing of Rocksteady. Because as much as I've tried, I think the Suicide Squad is an awesome concept, but I haven't fully jived with an interpretation of it just yet. And I love the Bat family. Like, I love Robin, I love Nightwing. So the fact that they're getting a game, I think, is really cool. The Court of Owls storyline is incredible. So seeing that adapted to a game also has me excited. But yeah, I saw the demo, and granted, I haven't seen the original showcase. I've watched it since this new footage came out, but I hadn't seen that in a while. Off the rip, I was surprised because I was like, damn, this looks a lot more like Arkham than it did at the reveal, where they talked about having custom UI stuff. You can remove damage indicators, you can remove enemy health bars, you can remove levels, so you don't have to see those things, where maybe it was just tricking me into thinking, oh, I'm Nightwing, I wail on that thug long enough, he'll go down. It didn't look like full free flow combat, but it was giving me that type of thought, I guess, as how I'd approach a combat scenario. And they do showcase stealth here, which I think they did in the initial one for like one enemy, but then it just turned into a firefight. So seeing a full room stealth takedown here made me happy because I love the Arkham games for stealth. So yeah, I was definitely surprised when I saw all the backlash to this. I think there's a number of reasons people are picking apart things, be it the price tag or the next gen only thing and the gear numbers, like you said.
Is this a $70 game?
This is a $70 game, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, I didn't either until late the day of this showing. So, like, even when what we see, right, if we want to compare it more to Marvel's Avengers, I think the game's already doing things strictly off of what I've seen better than the way Avengers handles things, where I think combat in itself looks less stiff than Avengers does, even if it isn't as fluid as Arkham. Would you say that it's like an in-between, maybe?
Yeah, I think Arkham is probably the most like locked in game in terms of like combat, where it is like what you mentioned, the free flowing combat where you're kind of like locked into your experience, where Avengers you can just kind of jump out if you're like in a big open environment. When I'm Iron Man, I don't have to like fight all these guys and just run away. And I think that kind of makes the gameplay less engaging in a lot of ways in Avengers. And like a lot of the combos and stuff you want to do kind of become useless once you start taking on higher level enemies. But yeah, I think you're right. This kind of seems like maybe an in-between, maybe leaning closer to Arkham, where it does seem like there are a lot of like different combos and stuff. I do appreciate though that this seems to take some of the Avengers like gameplay in terms of the hero abilities. Like you have, I think, like 3 different abilities you can use as each character. I think that's going to be fun. I think there's like an electric shock ability that Nightwing uses from his sticks. So that looked cool. I think that's always fun.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's also things to look into with the level up system. Uh, the thing that I think might be a misinterpretation and what I think has like significantly higher over Avengers is that gear menu they show, where, to my understanding, based off of what I've seen, and I tried to see if there's more detail about it, but there wasn't, you are earning materials through missions you do and enemies you defeat. They're not dropping gear. You are earning resources and materials to spend on blueprints for full suits that you can like craft. Like Nightwing's uh, classic suit is a default, and then you can get like a leather jacket, mask, collar up Nightwing outfit that you spend resources on, you get, and that will have an added benefit to it. Like maybe that specific suit is poison resistant. That was the impression I got from looking at it, like pausing and trying to figure out what that UI was saying, rather than, oh, combat encounters, you're going to be getting a new headpiece every time you clear a wave or stuff like that, like Avengers has.
I think it is suits in general and not individual pieces. It does seem like there might be different levels of suits though.
Sure.
So I'm looking at the part where they highlight that, and there are like different suits, and it says like level X, rarity, epic, or like legendary. So it seems like you can pick up or craft different versions. Maybe that was a little unclear to me, and I can see why people were a little upset about that. Um, it's hard to say though, because like I play games like this where like even in like games like Horizon where you get different armor sets that have different like abilities where it's like, oh, this is better for facing off against like fire type enemies or like frost enemies. I'm used to that, and I think a lot of people are used to it. It just maybe, and I said this to you off air, but it seems like a little. It seems like one of those games where you kind of have to get your hands on it to really understand what's going on. Because I think when people see different types of armor and different like numbers associated with that, they're like, oh no, this is gonna be like Avengers. But like there are lots of games that people like and enjoy with these types of mechanics.
Yeah, like I've played a lot of looter games. We all know I play a lot of Destiny. I played The Division 2, played Avengers. What I see out of this game is fairly different from the gear and loot system of the things I just mentioned. And I think that was a big critique of Avengers, right? Where you did have the cosmetic suits, but gear felt like nothing to you because it didn't change anything. And while Gotham Knights doesn't seem like it's taking the specific gear approach, it is taking that, like you said, suits. This one's fire resistant. This one's poison resistant. This one has a better damage output for you, but you're weaker. Like, if the full suit has those options for you tied to them, I think that is a more interesting thing to chase based off of the type you play of player you are, because you would physically see it and you would know that like, oh yeah, my Nightwing with the mullet, that one's gonna have better defenses. So like, it feels like a easier clarification and just focus compared to all of the gear sets and what feels like meaningless stats in Avengers, you know?
Yeah, I think the direct comparison is that this seems a little more simplified, and
Sure.
there's like 1,000 different resources in Avengers. So if it ends up being a more simple version, I think this will be, in terms of just the gear alone, will be a lot more easy to wrap your head around.
Yeah, absolutely. I think another benefit over Avengers, and I'm curious how you feel about this because I did see some people upset about this as well. It's only two-player co-op. It's not a full four.
Yeah, that's fine. For me personally, I don't really play with a lot of people, so if I could just jump in with someone and do a mission or two, that's fine by me. Yeah, how do you feel about that?
I think it's a huge benefit because if we look at Avengers again, Avengers has a lot of very wide areas, what feels like empty space. Uh, and I think the reason for that is if you're making a multiplayer game, you have to design things, from what I'm aware of, with the max amount of players in mind. And then you would just scale back depending on how many people are playing. So if every area in Avengers that you and I play through is designed for 4 players and we play it solo all the time, can you tell it's designed for more people to be there?
Right. Yeah.
So I think maxing out at 2 is probably just going to have a benefit to making some of the interiors maybe feel a bit more real and that sort of thing. But I'm with you. I think it would be even off a lore RP thing cooler to be co-oping like a Batman and Robin sort of dynamic with a friend.
Right. Yeah. I'm not sure how I'm gonna fall on this one.
Me either.
My hype is not like at an all-time high for this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I'm gonna get it day one. It's gonna be one of those like, let's see how people react to this. I kind of have a feeling it's gonna be pretty mixed.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I'm definitely a bit more reserved. Like I even at the beginning of this year, I was looking forward to it, but I could see a reality where it didn't all come together. And based off of this, I still sort of am in that I'm looking forward to this, but I think it might not all come together. So curious to see how it evolves as we approach it, to see if it avoids some of the Avengers pitfalls. But yeah, I think there's also a chance that the person like playing the game was just like bad at the game. Cause
That's what I thought too. There are a lot of parts where I was like, this seems like if they had like a really great player who was just doing things really quickly, I think their thought process was people would be confused. But at the same time, you kind of want to see someone just zip through it and be like, wow, that was impressive.
yeah, because if you're not like experienced in Arkham, you can make that combat look bad
Oh, yeah.
like pretty easily. So we'll see. I'm curious to see more of this as we move on. October 25th is the release date. Before we move on, who's your main?
I do like Nightwing. Seems floaty. I loved playing as Nightwing in Arkham City in like that DLC. So Nightwing's probably up there, and probably Batgirl too.
Yeah.
They both seem like kind of lighter characters. So I have a feeling that Robin's gonna play most like Batman.
Yeah, it's funny because when I went back to watch the debut thing, the devs at WB said that if you've played the Arkham games, Batgirl will be the most familiar to you with her playstyle.
Oh, interesting.
So I think that's also another thing to consider, right? Because like half of this showcase was a dude that uses guns. So
Yeah, I think Red Hood kind of looked the worst. Kind of like the least interesting.
yeah, so excited to get my hands on it, play as Robin, have a fun Court of Owls game, but maybe Avengers will take back the spotlight before then. Who's to say?
Maybe.
Well, meanwhile, there's a few other things going on in the greater Marvel universe. I got some new looks at Ms. Marvel. The marketing materials are popping off now that we've dealt with everything else. Kevin Feige's also back in the news talking about the power change. Have you heard any of these quotes?
The power change. I don't know if I'm familiar. Oh, the power change for Ms. Marvel.
Yes.
Yeah, so what was he saying?
Basically, he was saying things that like, oh, the MCU is an interpretation and a reinterpretation of stuff from the comics, so things are open to make it make more sense for our universe. And the gist of it seems like they probably made this choice for Kamala with the cosmic like wrist energy construct things for budget reasons, for scheduling reasons, like not being able to get Brie Larson to shoot for this show because the origin of Kamala is using the polymorph to make herself appear as the likable Carol Danvers, blonde, white, blue eyes superhero lady. To do that on a Disney Plus budget, like and scheduling, you need to have Brie Larson. So people think that's the reason for it. There's a division of people who think, oh, let's just see how it happens. It's an overreaction. But there is a justification of like the people who see themselves in Ms. Marvel. I wasn't aware of this because my introduction to her was from the game we play. Uh, like something very core to her origin is being ashamed of who she is, as like how she identifies and how people see her on the level of her religion, being an inhuman, and having these like grotesque powers in a way. So I completely understand and sympathize with the people who are very upset by this change more than ever, I think, but it's coming up and they're clearly not going to be able to change it anytime soon. So
No, yeah, I remember that was a lot of the rationale, specifically the like morphing ability and how she felt like kind of like a freak from that. I do think they will touch on other things in terms of her religion and like how she's viewed by some of her peers. In the show, they'll just handle it in a different way than what the comics did. So yeah, I do kind of want them to just come out and be like, "Look, we got a stretchy guy coming down," so that's kind of the reason.
yeah, and I even wonder if that's fully the reason behind it, right? Because I I don't want to say anything because of spoilers for things potentially down the road. Uh, but yeah, I'm curious to see how they tackle it and to see if they're able to capture the essence of the character in a way that satisfies the people who are most critical of this. But we're gonna know soon enough.
Yeah, I think if at the end of the day she acts like how um, Ms. Marvel would in the comics or the game, like that's kind of how you and I know her best. So if by the end of it, her character feels similar to that despite having different powers, then I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. So not too much longer to wait. We're getting our first episode in about a month, so we'll see how it goes. But another thing that is coming out this week is lots and lots of information about Multiverse of Madness from the creatives behind the film. Uh, we're not going to get into like big spoilers really because we did our spoiler cast episode, which if you haven't seen is up on the audio feeds on the YouTube channel. If you haven't seen the film yet, check it out after. Not going to spoil anything here specifically, but there is something that wasn't in the film that I thought was interesting, and I want to hear how you feel about it.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Michael Waldron, the writer of the film, writer of Loki as well, said that Deadpool was in a draft to appear in Multiverse of Madness, but it didn't really just feel like the right time. So,
Yeah, that's interesting. I know that was one of your theories. So it's interesting that the thought was there. I do wonder when he's going to show up. And I kind of have a feeling it will just be in a Fox-related property. Like, whenever they do the next... whenever they actually do, like, a straight-up X-Men movie, I think that's kind of when he comes back. But that seems like it's forever away.
yeah, because, I mean, it seemed obvious, right? And I guess it was because that was a potential reality at one point. But just in terms of what you're saying, I always assumed that we'd get Deadpool 3 before an X-Men movie because I still feel like the X-Men are a ways out.
Yeah. It does feel like they're forever away. And, like, Deadpool is very successful as a franchise, as a film franchise. So you would expect that soon, but do they have, like, any confirmation on, like, when that is coming out?
I don't think so. I know the recent development was earlier this year they attached Sean Levy to direct it. So
Right.
I would imagine they're making some progress on it. I would hope that we maybe see it around like 2024 or 5. Because like, I don't know how much longer Ryan Reynolds wants to keep playing Deadpool. I'm sure he loves it. He clearly does. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, 2016. It's like not yet, but like close to being a decade. Like by the time the film comes out, it's probably a couple years off. So I don't know. I don't even know if he shows up in a movie before Deadpool. And if it is, it's like at an end credit scene, obviously.
Yeah, and just thinking of who's in rotation right now, right? Like, there's not many characters really that you could see and have a really solid connection to. Like in the comics, I know he's a really big thing with Spider Man, but God knows when we're getting Spider Man 4. So, like, yeah, it's really up in the air. I really am curious to see how they introduce him and tackle all of that. So,
Yeah, I do think it'll either be in a Fox related movie or just in his own standalone, and he has to explain how he's in the Marvel. That's another thing. Like, obviously, he's going to be breaking the fourth wall, but like, how do they actually explain that?
and that's another thing too, because it feels like if, let's say, they're setting up a collision of universes as a way to introduce the X-Men to the MCU, that feels like there's still a lot to build up to. And it would be so, so easy to get Deadpool introduced significantly earlier by just facing the camera, being like, you like me, you like this, accept it. And then that's the rest of the movie, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So,
And I think a lot of people were expecting. There's been like three or four projects in Phase 4 since 2021 that a lot of people, either during the course of the show coming out or before the movie, was like, oh, this is going to be like the multiverse breaking open, and like this is going to explain some things. And we haven't quite gotten that yet. Even with Loki, like we haven't seen the ramifications of that quite yet. So I think people are just kind of still wondering like when that moment is going to be. It kind of seems like it's far off.
yeah. Speaking of Loki, interesting tidbit. Season 2 will begin filming on June 6th of this year. And I believe they're tapping some of the Moon Knight talent to direct this time around. But do you know off the top of your head when Quantumania is coming out? Things keep getting pushed
That's
around.
I believe that's February
Okay.
now of 2023.
So when is Loki coming out?
That has to be next year. Now, if they're filming this soon, that's got to be probably a quick turnaround.
Yeah, I have to wonder, like, would the events of Loki take place after Quantumania? Because Kang is in Quantumania.
I would imagine Loki season 2 is after Quantum, just like calendar wise,
Yeah.
or it comes out like January into February. But I don't know if I see that happening.
Yeah, because, like, spoilers for Loki, the very last cliffhanger is a statue of Kang. So,
Right.
like, do we introduce him here? Do we meet him in Quantumania and then see what he does to Loki in the show? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it would be a variant. So I'm not really sure like which variant it's gonna be, because we only saw He Who Remains in Loki. We didn't even get to see like any of the. We didn't get to see like Capital K Kang. And is that who it's supposed to be in Quantumania?
Yeah, that's him.
Okay. And at the very end of Loki season 2, it was implied that it was that Kang.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like maybe Quantumanium's a setup for season 2.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious, man. I'm very interested to see how things unfold for these two projects tied together, because it would have made a lot more sense if Quantumania was still set for the summer, like it was like a week ago, or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But,
I wonder if it'll be a reshoot situation, maybe.
ooh, maybe. I could see that happen too. But as we wrap up, one more question I want to ask you just about the general vibe we've had with this MCU talk. I've seen since the fallout, I guess, of multiverse, a lot of people online say that Phase 4 feels disjointed and unconnected, and we talked about that a little bit. these past, I think, 2 episodes. Right now, looking ahead, seeing what we have, where we are, do you think that we just don't see the full picture yet, or is it a lot of these spin-offs are setting up their own thing?
I do think it is. We don't quite see the full picture yet, and it honestly kind of feels similar to Phase One because we really didn't know what exactly. Obviously we knew the Avengers were coming down at some point, and this was before I was really even cognizant of this, and a lot of people were. But those were just movies kind of set by themselves, and then eventually they led into something, and that's kind of what we're dealing with right now. There are some projects like Multiverse of Madness dealing with stuff that has already been introduced in the MCU and then leading up to something else we don't know quite yet, and then there's shows like Ms. Marvel or Moon Knight which are kind of doing their own thing, and will eventually be brought into the fold. But yeah, it does feel a little strange at the moment because I think we're so used to the MCU leading to a natural point, and this will eventually, but I think we're probably spoiled a little bit with Infinity War and Endgame and us trying to like think about everything that's going to happen to lead up to those. And there are just, I think, so many projects in Phase 4, and I think the fact that a lot of them haven't really led to anywhere, like MCU building at least, on the scale of like some of the other stuff that we've seen in like Phase 3, maybe have left some people disappointed. And I'm like not disappointed, but I'm just interested to see like what Phase 4 actually means. Like, what does the end of Phase 4 mean? And, like, where do they leave off?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. For me, I'm looking at this very much, especially now, post Moon Knight and Doctor Strange, as, like, it's Phase 1, Part 2, like you said, where the point of Phase 1 was meet all the characters, figure out who they are, and the spectacle was some of them are going to meet each other. And it feels like that's where we are right now, you know? So,
yeah,
keep it in mind as we progress forward into another new hero with Ms. Marvel and another new hero with the Mighty Thor and another new hero with She-Hulk. You know, like that's just kind of what this phase is right now. So, excited for the future though.
Yeah, it's a building phase. We're getting somewhere. We just don't know yet.
For sure, for sure. It's like when a sport team does like we're doing a restructuring year. We're gonna lose a lot. We're not gonna go to the playoffs. We're just figuring shit out right now. This is what's going on here.
Yep, that's exactly right.
So until not next week because I'm traveling. The week after that we'll return. It's gonna be E3 time or whatever, you know.
Oh, will it? Is it gonna be that?
I think so. I think next time we talk will be the week of the actually the week before the week of E3 time. So
yeah, Kenobi week.
Kenobi week indeed, and hopefully rumors of more Marvel games. You know, because we need something.
Yeah. We do.
Until then, though, Jack, where can the agents of Excelsior find you?
Sure, you can follow me on Twitter at FascinatedJack. What about you, Christian?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and TikTok at Chun2D2, as well as youtube.com/joyclicks for the video version of Excelsior. It posts every weekend up on the video feeds in the Excelsior playlist. You can also check out the audio version of the show on your favorite podcast service like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, anywhere you listen to shows like that. Just look up Excelsior, Marvel's Avengers podcast, or JoyClicks. You will find it. Rating and reviewing is a very quick and free way to help the show out. It helps us reach more people. And if you want to support us out further, you can go to patreon.com/JoyClicks at the $1 and $5 tiers. $5 give you producer credit on every show we produce, like Aaron Easton and Jose Garcia. So thank you very much. And that's it for a very light week of Marvel. A bit of DC cracking into the universe, but until next time, Excelsior.